Hi, everyone. Ellen Jaffe Jones, and I love to answer questions. As a former two-time Emmy winning investigative TV reporter, I think questions are a wonderful way to learn and for the world to become more tolerant and compassionate with each other. Even though relatively recently I got told by someone that my questions were stupid, and not just on one occasion, but several occasions. And I'm going like, smart, intelligent person, how can you be saying anything I would ask would be stupid? I mean, I was a TV reporter, so I think I know what stupid questions are. And not that I know everything about everything, because that's why I like to ask questions. It just was mind-boggling to me that somebody would think anybody's questions are stupid, because that's the way we learn. And even if you felt that, you shouldn't say it, in my humble opinion. I digress. So going forward, I want to hear all your questions in the comments below, any way you want to contact me. And today's question is, how do you eat vegan when traveling abroad? Now, depending where you're listening to this, abroad can mean many different things. Maybe you're coming to the Americas. Maybe you're going from the Americas to Europe or South Africa. And the truth is, it is a challenge. And I have traveled this planet. I've been so lucky to have been able to do that. My parents had the travel bug and left me at the age of 8 with my 2 sisters. And I remember crying about that, but I did get over it. And they planted that seed within me. And they took me traveling when my sisters moved out of the house, got married, and I was fortunate enough to be able to go traveling with them to different places. And of course, I wasn't vegan then. Of course, these seeds always get planted at some point along the way, and we never know when it kicks in. And then when my first book, Eat Vegan on $4 a Day, came out in 2011, and it is still completely relevant and popular because people are really wanting to know how to save money and still be healthy. And like me, a nationally ranked sprinter at the age of 70 and have all this energy to do stuff. But as a result of the book tour that I was on, I would go on to write 5 more books, and my publisher would pay for me to go all over this planet talking about the messages of my book. So I had traveled from being a child, and then in high school, I thought I would join the American Field Service and do some international traveling as a student. That didn't happen, but I did get, I actually interviewed. I was going to say auditioned, even though it was a musical group. They didn't have musical auditions. It was all verbal interviews to go with the international cast of Up With People. And for 2 years, I traveled more of the planet. Of course, it was a very different way, mostly by bus, some by plane. And point being is, I have traveled a lot. And since I've been a vegan runner for 42 years, and these are fine, I've placed in 276 5K or longer races for my age group, traveling a lot in a car or other vehicles to do all of these races. And so I have a lot to say in answering that question. How do you eat vegan when traveling, especially traveling abroad? And the big thing is to just take it with you to the extent you can. Put it in baggies, whether it's, nuts are the obvious protein source, and they really fill you up, especially if you get stuck somewhere and you don't have access to food for whatever reason. Cashews, almonds, peanuts, if you're not allergic. Just any kind of nut or seed. If you can do a trail mix, there's a reason trail mixes have been around since I was a little teeny tiny camper, because you can just put them in your pocket and go off for hours with that. So that's the obvious. And especially if you're stuck on a plane somewhere and you don't have access to anything. If you've heard my videos before, you know I am a recovering Cliff Bar addict. And if there's any kind of vegan kind of snack that is remotely healthy and doesn't have too much garbage or too many ingredients or ingredients names that you cannot pronounce, Cliff Bars would be my go-to. Before that, I would eat date and nut bars, but I gained some pretty significant weight because they are very calorie dense. So if that's not an issue for you, things like Lara bars, all good if you are needing to sustain that energy for a long period of time and you don't have access to other food. I often call bananas nature's fast food. Nature went ahead and put it in a package so it wouldn't get too badly bruised, unless, of course, you sit on it or leave it in your purse, as I have been known to do for days at a time. It becomes a liquid at that point. So apples are another thing that survive pretty well in a purse or a bag that gets, or backpack that gets banged up. Any kind of fruit really that can survive the jostling of travel. And if you can mix them together, dried fruits like dates and raisins, often those will be two main ingredients in a trail mix. So other things that you can take as a vegan, if you can, it depends if you're going through security. They don't like anything liquid. So those little tofu containers that have, they're wrapped up, they may or may not get through. So, these would be the sauteed tofus that come at the grocery store in the plant, in the produce section, or the plant-based areas of your grocery store, however they label that. So those are other things. They do make it's almost like a dehydrated, but not quite, flavored tofu cubes that can go into salads. And if you can find those in your store, those are great because there is no liquid in those bags. So those store nicely. Another thing I like to use and take with me because they survive well would be different kinds of crackers that are vegan. I personally like the Mary's variety because they have nuts and seeds in them, and they put some really nice herbs in them, so they're flavored. If you can smuggle some peanut butter in your backpack and then kind of spread that on the crackers, those are really delicious. Or if you aren't going to be traveling too long and you like the vegan cream cheeses that are out there, that's another thing you can use. For me, it's the least processed, the better. Grapes, before they become dehydrated, and raisins are a good thing to take as well. Just don't sit on those either. So what other things? Drinks, I'm just a big water gal, so I'll take my water container and just fill it up in the airport under the spouts that they have, so you can see how many gallons of water you're saving by not drinking out of a plastic bottle. And otherwise, it's just kind of thinking ahead and planning and seeing what works. You certainly can, if you're into eating breads, you can put different things like cooked mushrooms and other vegetables, lettuces that will store nicely in a bag. So you can still get fresh lettuces. And of course, if you're stuck in an airport, they often have the hummus. You can make your own hummus if you can get by with that. Or usually the airports will have some kind of hummus container with some fruits or crackers or carrots and celery that you can use to lap up the hummus. So those are my best tips for traveling abroad when you are out and about. If you have any other questions, I want to hear them below, and I will do my best to answer them, or probably say, I don't know, I'll find out. All right, everyone, gotta run.